from the News Channel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Well, good evening and welcome into Open Line. I'm Chuck Long, excited to be with you for the next hour. One of the best hours we have here on Open Line. This is Ask an Attorney, and one of our very favorites here at Open Line, of course, talking about Kevin Kennedy, attorney Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm. Been in business over 35 years. Their expertise is what it's all about. He's got the knowledge, he's got the power. Love it when Kevin's here, and I know a lot of you do too. You call in, you have those legal questions you've been thinking about, you want some expert advice. This is the place to get it. So let's say welcome and hello to Kevin. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing great, Chuck, and I'm always glad to be with you. Can't wait, Chuck, until we're all in the studio together, but it's been a unique time, and I'm so grateful for the audience that consistently calls, and thank you. I want to encourage people, call us, and then if you need me privately, feel free to call me the next day, as many of you do. And so I have a wonderful relationship with Channel 5 and Chuck and all of you in the audience. So we love you and appreciate you.
Absolutely. And I tell you, you know, the thing that we find, you know, time and time again, every time that you're here, Kevin, people will call in and they think they have, and they do have personal questions that they need to know some answers about. But when I say personal, what happens is those questions so often are far-reaching. They're broad. People listening, watching right now, they gain a lot from just the callers calling in with those questions. So that's why we always say, if you've got that question on your mind, you've got that legal question, make sure you give us a call. Easy to do. 737-7587 is the number. And Kevin, when I talked about 35 years of experience, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, you know, Chuck, one of the great things about doing this show with you, you really care. And if you and I had some knowledge that we could share with a family tonight or a loved one or a family member, and we could make a difference in their life, and we've got it and we can give it, man, we feel great. It makes us happy to help people. And so no matter what we're confronted with, when you can get together and brainstorm and discuss these things, it will make your life so much more happier. No doubt about it. So the lines are open. We encourage you to call. There is no such thing as a question that would be stupid. You know, somebody says, I don't know how to phrase my question, Kevin. And I said, well, we talk to average people every day, all day. So we talk to the rich, we talk to the poor, the sophisticated, but everybody has legal needs. So take this time, take some notes, learn, and then share what you learn.
And you know, Kevin, and I've told you this before, but I just kind of marvel at the fact that, I mean, we can have questions from A to Z and everywhere in between, that broad spectrum of questions and legal expertise that they need. And it's just always amazing. You've got the answers. I mean, you understand what they're talking about. You're able to share your knowledge, your experience. You're able to kind of clue them in to all the experience that you've gained over these 35 years having. Of course, it's even been more, but having just your firm, 35 years, somebody comes to see you, you've also got such a staff that's so knowledgeable in every single area that someone would need.
Yeah, and you know, Chuck, even tonight we're here on Zoom. I have my legal assistant, Sarah. Sarah, stick your face over there and let them see you. We're working late tonight, but Sarah is always there. And the greatest thing about Sarah, she just loves and cares about people.
Absolutely.
So that's really, we love to help people. That's in us. It's in her. And so thank you for being with us tonight.
You.
We'll put that team together and make a difference. Here's the real world, Chuck. Not everybody has access to legal information. Most people never get to see a lawyer or hear from them. So tonight is very valuable because knowledge is power and it will make a big difference. So I'm delighted. Chuck, you're one of the best that there's ever been. Been doing it 9 years. You're the king. Keep going.
Like I say, I just get an education every time we're here, Kevin. I sit back, I listen, and I learn. And you know, when we say call in, there's no question out of bounds. I mean, when you've got that question on your mind that you've been contemplating, you've been thinking about it, all you have to do is just call here. And like I said, and those questions often help more than just you. They help a lot of the people that are watching along with you as well. Kevin, we are going to go right to the phone lines. First up this evening, Charles is on the line with us. Charles, we're glad that you're here. Welcome to Open Line. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes, I basically have a question about meal tract law, maybe some metro code. I had a trailer that was registered last September and parked on the street near my apartment's parking lot. And earlier this week, I saw a green sticker saying an officer thought it had been abandoned, although the tag was current. The reason he thought it was abandoned is because it wasn't hitched to my truck. So the next day, I towed it and put it on the apartment's private property, and it hasn't been towed yet. But I'm a little confused. Why did they wait all this time since last September to put it down as abandoned? And why did they think it was abandoned when it was currently registered, just not attached to a truck?
Well, that's a good question. And, you know, people many times can ignore a problem for a while. Is that illegal? No. If the law calls for someone to take actions just like this, if they say we're going to tow a vehicle, you know, codes has so many little rules. How do you even learn them all? You're constantly trying to, but normally you'll get a warning. And if you got the warning, they'll put a sticker on there and say, if this vehicle is not moved, we're going to tow it. Also, you know, they have where you cannot have unregistered cars in your yard. It's a codes violation. And so what does it really mean? It means it's against public policy to have all these unregistered cars in the yard, whether it attracts nuisances or whatever. There's a public policy behind that. But the government usually has the right to do that. So I'm sensitive to it. What I always teach everybody, take a proactive approach, take care of your property, keep it registered, and then try to avoid those situations if at all possible.
Absolutely. Charles, we appreciate you calling in this evening. And once again, a lot of great advice from Kevin just starting off the show. If you are just tuning in, we're glad that you're here. This is Ask an Expert. It is Ask the Attorney evening here on Open Line. So if you have one of those questions or even a comment that you'd like to just discuss with Kevin, you can do that. 737-7587 is the number. Call us, and we'll love to take those questions. All right, we're going right back to the lines right now. Brian is on the line with us. Brian, good evening. We're glad that you're here on Open Line. Do you have a question for Kevin?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Kennedy. My mom recently passed away, and I am executor of the estate, but my brother was named beneficiary in another state. Do in the stocks and CDs total over $50,000, do we need to go to probate, or can the beneficiary move the funds?
Okay, here we go. Great question. First off, we need to determine, is that a life insurance policy? If it was, did they name the beneficiary? One of the great things about life insurance here in the state of Tennessee, it goes outside of the estate. Now, if there are cars, if there are motorcycles, if there's other property, you're probably going to have to open the estate. And why do we do that? You file the will, and if anyone has a claim, they have to file that claim within a certain amount of time. If they don't, then their claim is forever barred. People say, well, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. Well, that's the only way we can ever settle completely. So I would go back and determine if that was payable on death. So here's a good lesson too. If we have bank accounts, you can ask the bank, does it have the right of survivorship? Chuck and I could have an account together with the right of survivorship, meaning if I died, he got it all. Or it would be interpreted tenants in common. So you really should talk to a lawyer privately going in. How do I set up my bank accounts? How do I do my estate planning? How do I list my life insurance? I love life insurance. I don't sell life insurance because it's one of the things that you get out tax-free. That's the insurance industry. You say, Kevin, how did they get that done? They have great lobbyists at the legislature. Legislature controls these. So I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, but I'm glad I was able to share a little bit. Look at those contracts.
All right. We do appreciate that, Brian. Great question. And again, we share Kevin's sentiments there. You know, Kevin, you talk about insurance, and I think that's a place where a lot of people, they just feel like they're the little guy, and that if they do have a case or a situation where they want to go up against the insurance, they want to question it, they want to say, hey, this isn't right. What's your advice to them?
Well, the real world is that's one of the last vestiges of hope in America is the trial lawyer. You know, we talk about tort reform all the time. Well, listen to this. It sounds really good, but what it really means is the little man. he can't fight the insurance companies unless there is a lawyer standing in the gap for him. And if we keep the courthouse closed, we can hold those companies accountable. Now, if your legislature continues to limit the liability, put limits, you say, well, it's a really good argument till you understand what just happened. So as long as you've got your lawyer, and it's standard across the industry where a lawyer gets a third, it's the greatest formula in the world because you become a partner with the lawyer. So he's got the knowledge, he's got the strength, you've got the case, partner together, and you both win. And many times, if you've got a voice that can say, guys, we're going to burn you up if you don't settle this. This is the real world. Two men come to the table. Here's what we got. Now, let's just be reasonable and fair. And that's what brings insurance companies to the table, say, okay, we'll agree to this.
And Kevin, I know a lot of times we've had many callers who have talked about the fact that, when you go to the doctor or you go to the hospital, you're not able to say how much is this procedure going to cost? How much is this going to cost? So, again, they say that might be coming, but then someone gets the bill and they're like going, oh my gosh, there's no way I can afford this. What's the advice then?
Hey, you are good, Chuck. I'm telling you, real good, because all this is that's exactly what's going to happen. That's why I'm telling everybody, if you're involved, you get a lawyer, because there's nothing worse than getting this money from the insurance company. Are they protecting you? Absolutely not. You'll get this money. So, well, I settled the case on my own, didn't need a lawyer. And guess what? 6 years later, you get sued for a bill. You said, hey, I thought that was taken care of. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So at least you got a lawyer advocating. And many times, so what? We've got a $100,000 medical bill. We see it all the time, $200,000. Then we are able to negotiate skillfully and bring that figure down. What does that mean? It means real dollars to the family. And the family really needs it. When you go through all the pain and suffering, you're not just getting all this free money. It's money that you deserve. That's why we have the law. That's why we're trying to be fair. It gets back what is fair and right. And that's why we need those lawyers. I really, people say, man, lawyers this, man, lawyers that trial. They're still one of the greatest things that keeps this country going. And all they have to do is say, this is what's fair. And the vast majority will come to a reasonable spot. Of course, we'll see some that say, bring it on, press me, let's see what you got. So you have to be prepared for that too.
Well, and Kevin, too, when you're looking at reasons, should I get a lawyer? Should I not get a lawyer? Reasons to hire a lawyer, reasons not to hire a lawyer.
Yes.
Often you look at it and it comes down to it can often cost you more not to hire the lawyer than if you did.
Hey, this is a new day, Chuck. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things become new. Listen, you are running Russian roulette. Spin the pistol if you don't have a lawyer in this environment. Everything's changed. This is a new day. Both my sons are doctors. I would tell them, I'm preaching to them every time we meet, because I want to protect my family. And I'm trying to teach my grandchildren, all my staff. Every day we do this, because the truth is we are in a new day. And you'd say, well, they can't do it. I hear that quite often, Chuck. The insurance, they can't do that. I even hear young lawyers say, they can't do it. Then they come back in, Kevin, they did it. I said, I already know, fellas. Here we go.
Absolutely. All right. If you have one of those questions, one of those comments for Kevin, we encourage you just get on the line with us. You see the number right there on your screen. It's 737-7587. We're going to take a quick break right now, but when we return, more comments, more questions with Kevin Kennedy right here on Open Line.